Intelligence officials in Pakistan say a local commander from the terrorist network Islamic State has admitted receiving funds transferred via the U.S. He made the confession while being interrogated. RT's Ganesh Chichkan has the story.
The Pakistani police arrested an ISIS commander, Yusuf al-Salafi, and sources told Pakistan's Express Tribune that the commander confessed to receiving funds routed through the United States to recruit young people to fight in Syria. Al-Salafi reportedly said he received around $600 for every recruit he sent to Syria, and that he was working with the support of an imam. The paper quotes one source saying, "The U.S. has been condemning the Islamic State activities, but unfortunately has not been able to stop the funding of these organizations, which is being routed through the U.S." This report raises so many questions. First of all, is al-Salafi telling the truth? If he is, does this make U.S. banks complicit in funding terrorists? And another one, were U.S. authorities aware of this? It's no secret that just a little over a year ago, fighting ISIS was not a priority for the U.S. Washington was focused on trying to remove Bashar Assad from power. We now hear that President Obama will ask Congress for $5.3 billion to equip and train Iraqi soldiers and quote-unquote moderate Syrian rebels to fight the Islamic State militants. Over the past few years, Washington has been much criticized for not having a good idea about who exactly is doing the fighting on the side of the opposition in Syria. And many are now concerned that some part of this new package of funding and weapons could end up in the hands of ISIS.
Was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province. Was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province. Was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
America's working class, America's middle class, families like yours, have been victimized by a big, bloated federal government run by a bunch of left-wing elitists like me. And the government's taking your hard-earned tax dollars, and it's giving them to freeloaders and welfare cheats, and we're strangling business with endless regulations, and this federal government is letting immigrants and foreigners steal whatever jobs Obamacare hasn't killed yet. No, I'm not exaggerating.
This morning on last month's deadly airstrike at a hospital in Afghanistan. There are indications that the U.S. military launched the attack based on false claims made by Afghan allies. The Afghans were convinced the hospital had been taken over by the Taliban, but it was being run by Doctors Without Borders. It's been more than a month now, and there's still no evidence to support that Taliban claim.
An error with fatal consequences. Barack Obama has apologized to Doctors Without Borders for the U.S. bombing raid that mistakenly hit the NGO in Kunduz, killing 22 people.
President Obama spoke by telephone with Doctors Without Borders International President Dr. Joanne Liu to apologize and express his condolences for the MSF staff and patients who were killed and injured when a U.S. military airstrike mistakenly struck an MSF field hospital in Kunduz. After completing that call, the president telephoned Afghan President Ashraf Ghani to express his condolences for the innocent loss of life in that incident.
Doctors Without Borders accepted the apology, but they say it's not enough, calling for an international inquiry into the incident, evoking the possibility of war crimes.
Obviously, it's good to admit it and to apologize, but what we want is to understand what really went on, the facts leading up to this operation, what caused this tragedy. The Geneva Convention protects our healthcare structures, protects the patient's access to treatment, and that's what we're condemning today. That's why we want an independent inquiry to shed some light on the facts.
On Tuesday, the top U.S. commander in Afghanistan admitted the American army was to blame. An independent and impartial inquiry can be triggered by any country that's a signatory of the Geneva Convention. So far, the U.S. has declined to comment on MSF's calls for a humanitarian commission to look into the incident.
As Commander-in-Chief, I have not hesitated to use force unilaterally when I'm no longer president. I will sleep well at night.